video, I'm going to show you how to work with text using Adobe InDesign. So open up InDesign and click Create New. This window might already be your default setting when you first open it up, and if it is, that's good. If not, just press Create New, and then go up here to the top where it says Web, because these are the different types of documents you can start. We're just going to do a web document, and when you click on one of these, it gives you different sizes that you can choose from for web. I'm going to choose this first one, 800 by 600, so just right click on that and it will start a new artboard at the size that we asked. The first thing you need to do when you come into InDesign is to make sure that the panels are open that you want. I want to show you how you can choose different workspaces that have different panels. So if you go up to Window and you choose Workspace, you can set these on different workspace settings. So right now I have it on Essentials, and that's probably what you're going to leave it on. We'll go over what some of the other ones do at another time, but at first just go to Window, Workspace, and press Essentials. And your screen will probably look something like this. Now we need the properties open because we're going to do some editing in there. There's also something called the control strip at the top that I like to have open. So let's go to Window and choose Control. All right, you might already have that open. I'm not sure how it will come on your computer as a default, but if this isn't open, just go to Window and make sure Control is selected, and then Properties. We're going to be using both of those. All right, so let's start doing some text. Over here is the Type tool, the T. We're going to use this tool and probably the Selection tool at the top. All right, starting off with the Type tool, go over here and just click and drag a big rectangle that goes across your whole page, about that big, and you'll see you have a blinking line that's ready to enter in text. So type this sentence. Kerning is the space between two letters. All right, one thing I do want to show you before I get too far into it is if you push Control+, you can zoom in, and if you press the space bar, you can get this hand and move your window around. If you press Control-, you can zoom out, Control+, zoom in, and then if you press Control-0, it will fit it to the maximum size in your window. Okay? And then once again, space bar is the hand. So those are kind of common commands that you need to know when you're first starting off. All right, let's go back to our typing. So we have this first sentence here. If you want to select those letters to make edits, you can take your cursor and you can click and drag. If you don't get it right there and you accidentally are just off a little bit, it's going to make a new text box. So make sure you get it right on the line there. You can either select a whole sentence by clicking and dragging over it, or you can just click anywhere inside there and then do Control-A to select all. And now we have the whole sentence selected. All right, so let's go up here in this control strip and change the size of the font. All right, you can also do that over here on the Properties panel. So either way, you can do it there or up here. I'm going to make the font size 35. That's probably good for this. All right, so that's nice and big. If I want to change the color of it, I can go over here and click on this T and pick a different color. Like we can make it red. And every time you're done, just click the Selection tool to get off of that, to get out of the type mode. All right, let's go back and maybe make the word kerning bold. So I want you to do that on yours too. Select that. And this time, instead of going up here, which you can, I just want to show you that you can also do it over here in Properties, Character. You can change the font here. So I'm going to make my word kerning bold. All right, so that's what your first sentence should look like. Now, the last thing I want you to do to this sentence is to actually adjust the kerning, and that's the space between two letters. So get your Type tool, click in between the N and the I, right there, and when you have that blinking cursor there, you can go up here to this top thing where it says V/A. If you hover your mouse over it, you can see it says that that's kerning. It's also available over here on the right hand side in Character. but I like to use this control strip with InDesign. So let's go up here and let's make this a really big number. So put in 100 and then press enter. And now you can see that it made the space between those two letters big. Now let's say we want some of the letters to be close together. If you want them close together, you just put in a negative number. So let's go over here, maybe in between the I or the N and the G, and let's tighten that space up. So go back up here to where it says kerning, and let's put in, it already says -8 right now, but let's put in, yours should probably say 0 when you first start yours. Mine's on -8 because that's probably a setting that I was using on my last document. So let's put in like -35. You can see that the N and the G got close together. So if you made it a really small number like -100, it would make it touching. Go ahead and do that because I want to see that you do know how to edit the kerning. So go in there and make that space 100 and make the space in between these two letters -100. That way you can, even though that doesn't look good, you can show me that you know how to adjust kerning. All right, so the next definition that we need to learn in using type is tracking. So get another text tool here and make another text box. And once again, type a sentence. So tracking is very similar to kerning, but it's the space between a whole group of letters and not just the individual letters. All right, so we have the text tool is activated because we have the blinking line. We can do Control A now to select all of that text. Let's go up here and once again make the text 35. And let's change the color maybe to green. And then let's select just the word tracking and let's make it a different font. So let's just make it bold. It can be the same font, but I'll make a bold version of it. All right, now let's actually adjust the tracking. So get your text tool, once again, click there till you get the blinking cursor, do Control A to select all of the letters. And this time we're going up here to where this VA has an arrow over it. That is where you adjust the tracking. Up here's the kerning, down here's the tracking. Also on the right hand side in properties you have those same two things. You have the tracking and the kerning over here. I'll go ahead and do it over here this time since I'm over there. Let's make our text 100. So when I do that, you see the text is really spaced out. It even returned it on a different line because of this text box. Let's say I want the letters to be really close together. I'll put my cursor in there and do Control A to select all of it. This time let's make it -100. And you can see that the letters are really close together. You can go ahead and leave it like that, so you showed me that you know how to do tracking. One other thing I wanted to show you about text boxes is if you make your text box small and it doesn't show you the whole sentence, there'll be like this little red plus here. That means that there's text that's not showing up. Just make your text box bigger. So if you're making your text, box long and narrow, it'll just keep wrapping it and make returns there. But for this assignment, I want you to make your text box big. I just wanted to show you how that works too. Okay, let's do the very last definition for text. This time I want you to make your text box bigger because we're going to do some returns in this. Leading is the space between lines of text. So I'm going to do Control A so that I have it selected. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to change the font to 35. This time we can go ahead and just leave it black, I guess. That's fine. And now that I have this cursor blinking right here, I'm going to do Select All, Control A, and then I'm going to do Copy, Control C. Then go to the end of your period and put the blinking cursor at the end of that period and press Return, and then Paste, Control V. Do it again, Return, Control V, Return, Control V, one more time, Return, Control V. So now we have 5 lines of text, so I can show you what leading does. All right, so while that cursor is blinking right there, I'm just going to drag up here and get those 2 lines of text, and we're going to adjust the leading. The leading is the number in this box here at the top, or if you're doing it over here in properties, it's this right here. It's the space between those lines of text. So normally your leading is set to a number that's fairly close to the size of your font. That usually looks best. But let's say we made it really small. If you make it 1, you can see that it pushes those lines on top of each other. That means like there's no space between the lines. So we do not want that. Let's put in a number like 60. And now you can see that it made the spacing, big between those two. In fact, I need to get my selection tool. You can see that I have this red plus. That means some of my text is not showing in the window. So I'm going to pull this down. Now I can get that last line of text because we made the leading so big that it wasn't fitting in the text box anymore. And then one more edit to leading. Let's get these top 2 lines of text and let's make the number small. So I'm going to go over here and make it just a little bit smaller than that number. Let's make it like 25. And then you can see that it made that really close to the other line. All right, so those are the 3 definitions you need to know for this assignment: kerning, tracking, and leading. The last thing we need to do, I'm going to pull this up, is type your name before we save the file. So one more text box, go over here, click and drag, and type your name. All right, you can, if you want to make it a different color or a different size, anything you want, you're welcome to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and leave mine like this. Make my text box smaller, and if you want to move your text box, just go over there and click on it so you can move your text anywhere you want. I'm going to put mine on the bottom over there. If you want to move this down a little bit, you can do that. Also, let me show you how to center your text in a text box. So get your text tool, click here, and do Control A. And if you go over here to paragraph and you click the second one, it makes your text centered. If you go over here, you can make it right justified, here is left. So go ahead and make your very top sentence align center. And that's really all you need to do for this assignment, so that you showed me you know how to do kerning, you know how to do tracking, leading, you know how to make a different font and a different color, and you know how to justify it. So you're well on your way to creating good text documents now. So let's save it. Go to File and choose Save and name it Assign to dash and then put your name. I'm going to save mine on the desktop for now. You can save yours in documents if you want to. And the format, just leave it as an InDesign document. All right, and say Save. And then we want to save it as a JPEG too. So go File, Export, and make it a JPEG. So when you click Format, there might be a couple different JPEGs. Just pick the first one, and it will automatically put the .jpeg extension in there for you, I believe. If you want to, you can just type .jpeg, but I think it'll do that automatically. So I'm saving these to the desktop, but what you would need to do after you make this JPEG and this InDesign document is go into your Google Drive, make a new folder called Assign To, put both of these files in there, your InDesign file, which is editable, your JPEG file, which is not editable, but the JPEG file is what you're going to put in your Google slide presentation for your grade. All right. And you can just leave this on all the default settings, that's fine. Say Export.